So aren't you glad to meet me? I think you should, I'd be glad to meet me. If I were you, aren't you glad to meet me? I think you should. I make a real good song out of you, time and ticking slow.
Why do I look like the villain from Camp Rock today? Probably the pins. Hold on. There, I feel like having one pin in makes it slightly less like villain from the Hannah Montana movie. But anyways, hello. Today's video is going to be new makeup releases, favorites, and fails for the month of March. So basically, if you're new to this series, it's just where I go through pretty much every new release I tried in March and give you guys my full, in-depth, more concise review on each one. This month, there's a lot of eyeshadow. During February, I really didn't try a ton of eyeshadow palettes. I think I only had like 2 new eyeshadows that I really tried out that month, just because I'd done my declutter and I was just kind of over trying new eyeshadow palettes. I really wanted to keep my collection to a minimum. Well, this month that went straight out the window. And I have a bunch of eyeshadow palettes to review for you guys, as well as some other really fun things. So I tried out a lot of really good things this month and some things that just didn't really work out that well for me. Before we start, I wanted to show you guys 3 current things on my wish list, and I actually want you guys to vote on which one you want to see most on the channel, because that is what I'm hoping to be able to purchase and then review for you guys. So I've talked about this before, but I use Shop Tagger to create my wish list. When you see an item you like, you click the button, it saves it automatically to a list, and then you can just go through your list and remember what you really wanted. Also notify you when things go on sale, when things drop in price, or when things come back in stock, which is very helpful for Mall Cosmetics. They actually have a new beta version I've been testing out, and it's so good. Like, I love it so much more than the old one, which I love the old one already, so this one is awesome. But it is super easy to install. You just have to download the button and it automatically adds itself to your browser, so it's super easy. The first thing on my to-buy wish list is this new freaking gorgeous palette from Colourpop. It is $18. It's part of their spring line. The packaging itself is just reason enough for me to buy this thing, but it has pressed glitters in it, and I really want to try that from Colourpop. It could either be a hot mess or absolutely beautiful, but either way, this color scheme, it is a bit more on the neutral side, but it's just really speaking to my soul. So I love this palette, and I definitely think I'm going to buy it because it's $18, so like, why not? However, I did just do an order from Colourpop, so I kind of like to space out my orders from them just because they drop so many things that whenever I buy something, the next week after that, they're like, oh, we're just gonna drop some like beautiful purple palettes on you. It's fine. Number 2 on the wish list is pretty much the entire Glossier Play line. I'm really thinking about getting the Liquid Night Shine liquid highlighter so I can make my cream products video. So, however, Glossier doesn't accept PayPal, but I have that saved onto my list just to remember that I want it, and on the off chance that Glossier ever has a sale, I'll be on that. Finally, the last thing I have on my list is the Tarte Dewy Skin Cream. I love Tarte. I love the Dewy Skin Mist. Skin cream that replicates that. Bitch, yes. We'll put a poll up in the cards, I think, here. Go ahead and tell me what you want to see most on this channel, but thank you so much to Shop Tagger for sponsoring today's video. You can get their button and check out their app down in the link below. And without further ado, let's just jump into it. So I'm just gonna start off with the biggest release of the month. Probably the most hyped up thing I tried in the entire month was the Anastasia Beverly Hills Riviera palette. I do have my full review of this one up, but I know not everyone watches the full review videos, so I figured I'd just touch back in and share my thoughts because it has been about 2 weeks since I filmed that one. I am still really liking this one. The initial excitement really hasn't worn off. I just think the color scheme in here is beautiful, and I was really worried that for their first like really colorful, vibrant palette, they were gonna do like, just a basic rainbow palette, which thankfully they kind of went for something a bit more inspired, very inspired by the sea and French Riviera, and I think it's just a gorgeous like summer spring palette. Bahamas is by far my favorite shade in here, but honestly everything just performs the way you'd want them to. Even the pressed pigment shades are really good and not too powdery like the Subculture palette. Really, my only complaints with this palette were just a few of the shades I felt like didn't really fit in. I felt like Cabana was just kind of out of place as a mustard yellow within this palette of beautiful like vibrant brights, but that's just a me thing. It does perform very well, and overall I really like this palette. Is it gonna be like an essential in my collection? Probably not. And even if I'm gonna do a colorful look, James Charles is usually what I reach for, but if I want a really good pink, some beautiful like duochrome blues, and the brush just fell out, this palette is amazing. Also from Anastasia this month that I haven't talked about yet on my channel is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow Gel, and honestly, it's a little bit of a bitch to work with. I did actually end up taking this to Japan with me just so I could get in some extra testing. It kind of took a lot of getting used to. It does have a bit of a learning curve to it, so first of all, it's just very pigmented. Literally so pigmented. It literally is like the Dip Brow pomade, but in gel form, so it has a very thick, strong hold to it. Thick. So I felt like if I messed up and I got colorful brow gel onto anywhere around my brows, I would have to clean it up really quickly, otherwise it would be just there, and it was really hard to get, and it was kind of really hard to get the hang of because you can easily make a mess with this one. I do love the fact that it's very, very strong, so I'm actually wearing it in my brows right now, and I will flash on screen just like a little demo of how to use it correctly because it really did take a lot of getting used to. My favorite way to use this one is to use this as the first step just to fill in the brows, clean up whatever I can if I do mess up, and then I'll go in with a brow pencil and just add in some extra fill in wherever I need to. But this really does kind of subvert the need for an entire pomade. I've seen people using the dip brow pomade with this, and I'm just like, that is a lot. Pros for me is that it's very, very strong, so I can put this on and just count on my brows staying in place all day long. It's also a very unique product. I feel like there's not a lot of products or any products that really replicate this one. It's not like your typical just brow gel that's slightly tinted. This is actually very, very pigmented, and that's something you don't really see a lot. However, the cons of this is that that pigmentation can be sometimes a bitch to work with. I would say over the first like 5 tries, I figured out how to use this one, and ever since then I've really liked the effect that it gives. And I think it's a really versatile product as well. It's going to be beautiful on people who already have nice fluffy feathery brows. I envy you so much. Or people who want to fill in some extra hair and just look like they have fuller brows. So either way, I do like this one. It was just kind of a pain to get there, you know? Pretty much like every other comment on my purple eyeshadows video was asking me why this wasn't in here, the It's My Pleasure palette. So this is actually what I'm wearing on my eyes right now. And then right after I uploaded that video, the green palette also came out. This is the Just My Luck palette, and it is completely green.
Wow.
This is beautiful. My eye look today, I'm wearing Sleeper, Pretty Cruel, and Kitten Fish in the crease as my mattes. And then I have on the lid Earthshine, Mr. Sandman, Bare Minimum, and Chiclet. So I'm pretty much wearing every single shade in the palette. For some reason, when I got this one in my order, I opened it up and I was kind of shocked because online it did seem pretty unique, but when I opened it, I realized it's pretty much an exact dupe of the Huda Beauty Amethyst Obsessions palette. So the colors are kind of rearranged, but honestly, it is pretty much the same exact palette, which I was a little bit just like about because I already own this one. But I'm so glad I bought this one because I like it a lot more than this. And I actually really enjoy the Huda Beauty Obsessions palettes. They do take a bit of building, especially with the more colorful ones. So I feel like I have to build up the mattes a bit more to get to a nice amount of pigmentation, but they blend really easily and the shimmers are freaking gorgeous. I am shooketh. These are some of the best purple shadows, particularly Sleeper. I was just stunned with how beautifully this worked. I definitely would recommend using this one on a wet base, so either the Colourpop No Filter Concealer as just like a nice padded out wet base, or any concealer, or Urban Decay Primer Potion, not P. Louise. These mattes just built up so beautifully. They blended really easily. And Pretty Cruel, gorgeous. Do be aware there are some very small like silver and gold glitter flecks in there, which kind of pisses me off.
I hate
micro glitters in mattes, but so in my opinion, this $12 palette is better than this $27 one. And then the Just My Luck palette is the newer of the two. This one is the all green color scheme. It's also really beautiful, but for some reason, again, when I was looking at it online, it didn't really register to me that it's pretty much an exact dupe, once again, of the Huda Beauty Emerald Obsessions. So it's kind of weird to me, just because I never really think of Colourpop as being that company that does exact dupes of things. I always really thought of them as a company that comes up with very, very unique ideas. So to see them do this, I don't know, I'm not really sure how I feel about it. I definitely really like the quality of this palette, but still it's just like, This one does have a few more mattes in here, and I just think the range is a little bit better. So again, I do think this palette is better than this one. However, I do like the quality in the purple palette a little bit better than the green one. These are really, really nice to work with, and they did build really, really easily, but I do think the purple one is just on a league of its own. Probably the best Colourpop palette I've ever tried. Sorry, good sport.
Know how I feel. Why would you say that?
And the shade names? We have Mary Jane, so weed reference. Mo Bamba.
They check it to 10.
Kiss My Ass, which is an avocado and a cheeky reference, so yeah. Just quality-wise though, this is so bomb. Once again, I feel like the Huda ones, you do have to build up quite a bit to get to a nice amount of pigmentation, whereas these, they are definitely a bit more pigmented and a bit more powdery, but they still blend really easily, and I prefer this one, honestly. The mint green in here is probably my favorite shade just because it's very unique. If they come out with a yellow one, I might die. Possibly my favorite comments over the past month have been the ones saying, your skin looks a lot better. I've struggled with my skin since middle school, and I don't think I've had skin this clear and nice and smooth since middle school. And currently I'm in like a renaissance period with my skin right now where it's just like, it's doing so well, and I'm kind of scared to jinx it just because I feel like whenever I say it's doing well and I have something working for me, stops. I didn't want to talk about some new skincare products until I was absolutely sure that they were working for me. So I will flash a before of what my skin looked like at the very beginning of February. It was
a disgrace to humanity.
It was really, really rough. This picture that I'm showing you on screen, I was at like my worst point with my skin that I'd been in like 4 years. Definitely I was very stressed at the time, but also I was just getting these really bad breakouts all over my forehead. I didn't know what was happening, and it was just, I felt so bad about myself, honestly. So that is what my skin looked like at the beginning of February, and this is what my skin looks like right now. I took this picture this morning before I did this makeup look. Possibly the biggest addition to my skincare routine has been really nice hydrating ingredients. CBD is my favorite ingredient in skincare. I do use a CBD oil at the end as a finisher, but something I've been integrating has been this kit from Healthy Skin CBD. So they did send me these. I got really desperate to a point where I was asking people on Twitter if they tried Curology before. So I started using these at my skin's like very worst point, and I've just been loving the results. And over the past like 2 months, I've seen my skin just improve so much. So you have a cleanser which has salicylic acid in it, there's a hydrating toner, and then the very last step is a benzoyl peroxide acne moisturizer, but it does have CBD in it, and every single product in here is infused with CBD, which is just one of the best ingredients to keep acne from growing. And honestly, I think that hemp as an ingredient has been just so overlooked for a long time, and so I'm just really happy to see skincare brands using it because it's such a good ingredient and it's natural. It's a plant. The cleanser has CBD and salicylic acid, 2%, which seems like it's going to be gentle. For me, this was a little bit harsh. My skin has definitely gotten a lot more sensitive, so if I use this one when I've used too many AHAs, this will just cause a peeling reaction, which looks really bad. So this I don't use very often. I probably use it like once a week. It's a little bit harsh on me, but I think for anyone who doesn't have super sensitive skin, this will be great. Particularly the moisturizer is my favorite product of the entire set. And this has really just done the most results. And this entire set has been pretty much the only like new thing I've integrated into my skincare routine to care for acne. I haven't really done any more like targeted blemish products. It's pretty much just been this, and I've seen the most amazing results. I think the pictures speak for themselves. So you might have noticed in this just little review here, I was being a little bit more serious and less jokey just because my skin has been a huge point of insecurity for me, and I finally found something that I think really, really works, and I just want to be serious about that. So back to memes now. Alright, so moving on, these were something I was really excited about just because I'm such a hoe for single bronzers. For whatever reason, I didn't pick up the blushes, and now I really regret it because everyone seems to be just like loving the blushes, but no one's been talking about the bronzers and the highlighters, so I'm here to do that. I picked up one of the pressed bronzers in the shade Toasty. It seems that all the bronzers she has are matte, which personally I prefer a good matte bronzer. I think shimmery bronzers are kind of the work of the devil, but that's just my opinion! I used this one in a recent Get Ready With Me. I just love how this one blends. It's just a really good formula. I feel like KYLIE's formulas get really hyped up at first, and then people stop talking about them, and I think sometimes they're kind of underrated, and this is a really, really nice bronzer. They did a really nice job in creating a very silky, smooth matte that still blends really easily, and it's not too soft in pigmentation. But the highlighters though. Oh, I have the shade Ice Me Out, and this has become one of my new favorite highlighters. I think this is like in my top 3 current favorite powder highlighters, right behind Anastasia, Beverly Hills, and Reezy, which is my one true love in life, and the Kaja Mochi Glow highlighter, which is my favorite like natural but still very blinding highlighter. This is extremely blinding, as you can see by the gorgeous reflect in the sun. Very, very reflective without being too like icy or stark on the cheeks. And again, I just really like the formula of these. I've heard some not great things about KYLIE's highlighters, but personally, I very much enjoy this, and this has become one of my new favorite highlighters. Fenty Beauty, as much as I bow down and worship before Rihanna, I feel like a lot of their releases are sometimes just like, I just really love when they get back to their roots of doing some like good ass permanent product launches. So they recently came out with setting powders as well as concealers. I reviewed the concealer earlier and I did not love it that much, but the setting powder though. This I picked up after I heard Jaclyn Hill just like straight up raving about this one for 20 minutes, and I don't know what it is about when Jaclyn Hill talks about products, but it makes me want to try them. So I bought the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter setting powder in the shade Lavender. This is slightly purple tinted, which is very weird, but on me, because I am so fair, it doesn't have like a purple cast to it. It just really brightens things. So I love this for my under eyes. I'm wearing it right now. All over my face, I feel like this is a little bit of a drying formula, but under my eyes, it's just soft and velvety smooth enough to a point where it keeps my under eyes looking mattified and brightened all day. And personally, I've been finding that under eye powders, I prefer to use a loose one just because pressed powders, they're pressed obviously, so they do have a bit of more dense compactness to the particles, and as a result they do look a little bit heavier throughout the day. I had a pretty rough month. There were a few tragedies, but possibly the biggest one. My Melt Cosmetics blueprint stack arrived just done with life, honestly. I posted it on my Instagram stories and I got a lot of DMs of you guys being sad on my behalf, but thankfully I was able to get my money back. No harm, no foul. I'm still fine, and I was able to repress all the shades. So this is my Melt Cosmetics blueprint stack. It's gonna look a little bit banged up and rough. Melt stacks are basically eyeshadow palettes. This one is an 8-pan eyeshadow palette and it's in stack form. So the first two are beautiful blue shimmers, and then you have a dark blue matte, navy blue. Love it. And then you have some neutrals as well, a dark, nice chocolatey brown matte, that one was not broken, and then a gorgeous like chocolatey brown shimmer, which was broken. And then the last two are like a copper shimmer and a peach shimmer, both of which were completely shattered. So as you can see, I did my best to repress them. Still not perfect. They are now very, very fragile and very powdery. So again, Melt is just one of those brands, along with Huda Beauty, that I would not feel safe at all taking with me for travel. And I heard a lot of people saying that the stacks are better than the palettes, so I compared it with my Gemini palette. Honestly, I do kind of prefer the color story of the Gemini palette just because there's more mattes in here. This formula is, however, god tier. So am I gonna buy more from Melt?
Yes.
Am I gonna be very, very cautious while doing it?
Yes.
Like the blueprint stack, it's not my favorite color story just because I feel like it's a little bit like there could have been some more mattes in there, but you know what? It's fine. I'll pair with my Gemini. I'll be okay. One of my favorite skincare lines, especially for my newfound more sensitive skin, has been First Aid Beauty, just because they really do cater to extremely sensitive skin. But they also make makeup products for sensitive skin, so they're just one of my favorites. And I love the Ultra Repair line. The Barrier Cream is like my favorite thing ever. The Ultra Repair Hydrating Serums. And I love this under primer because I feel like it has a little bit of a sticky clings to makeup, and it just makes all the face stuff applying on top of it. First of all, glide on because my skin is nicely hydrated, but also just like stay in place. So this I personally really enjoy, but also, dude, the Hyaluronic Hydrating Primer is such a banger. I was comparing it with the Coconut Skin Smoothing Priming Moisturizer, and I think I prefer this one a little bit more. It's a really nice, like, soft eucalyptus scent. It just feels like you're putting on skincare, but it actually does keep my makeup on very well throughout the day. And again, I'm just kind of loving hydrating primers, so I'm wearing this one today under my Huda Beauty foundation. If I'm wearing a foundation that I know kind of clogs my pores, like the Huda one, I'll put this one on, and I feel like it really does create this nice protective barrier. So this is great. Probably one of the most underrated brands to me is Ciate London. I'm honestly such a stan of Ciate. Like I single-handedly became Ciate's spokeswoman for the Glitter Storm palette. They recently came out with the Jessica Rabbit collection, and I was kind of shocked by the actual color story of the palette because I feel like nobody has talked about this one. And normally I feel like when there's a palette that comes out where it's not like super boring and neutral, people get really excited. This is the Glitter Storm palette, and the reason I love it so much are because it has these beautiful like glitter packed shimmer shades. This palette I feel like doesn't really have any of those. The shimmers in here are kind of standard. I do really like the way this palette is lined up, so you have, if you go down the columns, you pretty much have an eye look set up in each one. The formula of Ciate shadows is really good. I feel like they're very underrated. Really wish there were, again, more mattes in here because there's pretty much all shimmers. Or like mid-tone mattes because the only mattes in here you get are very light. So personally, this palette wasn't really for me just because of the color selection. I felt like it was a little bit disjointed, but there's a lipstick which is bright red and glittery. I never leave my home just to give you hoes a chance. Okay. But on the off chance I ever do go out, I think this would be a really, really fun lip. And then the highlighter, this was kind of disappointing for me. It's the shade Roger Darling. I thought this would be a really good formula because it seems to be very nice and reflective, nice and blinding and not too glittery at all. On its own, it can look a little bit powdery and it never looks quite natural. So I like softer highlighters like this that don't have glitter particles in them because I feel like they just melt into the skin and look actually like you've been like out sweating. The texture is really not for me. It's a little bit too dry, but you can make it work if you want to. So if you want to put on some setting spray. Overall, the Jessica Rabbit collection was a little bit meh for me, but I just really love the stuff that Ciate has in their permanent line. I feel like they just have really, really good products that no one ever talks about. I personally really love when brands come out with collections with professional makeup artists. So they came out with a collection by FRANCESCA TOLOT, who is a makeup artist that's worked with Beyonce. She does really beautiful work. The eyeshadow palette palette I want to start with because it's all colorful. Normally, if I hear like a makeup artist has come out with a palette, I think it's going to be all neutrals just because it's kind of what they tend to do. But this is all brights, and I've never tried any eyeshadows from OFRA before, so I was very interested with this one. I did a look using the blues in here, these two shades right here, and I loved how these blended out. They were really easy to work with and very pigmented. It's pretty much mostly mattes in here besides this purple lavender shade and then the highlighter in the middle. The cheek palette, however, I can get this bronzer to work on me if I use a very light hand. They do have slight amount of shimmer to them, but they're not like super dewy. Blushes in here, these I was a little bit nervous about just because I've tried OFRA's matte blushes. Those are so good, and these are shimmery, but OFRA is known for making very blinding highlighters. Blushes don't actually pack a lot of like pigmentation to them. They're not super like pink, but they are very dewy. So if you like a good dewy blush and you want powder, these are good, but personally for me, I would just prefer to use a cream dewy blush. I feel like it's a bit easier to control, and these can be a little bit on the more highlighty side. So overall, this is going to be a beautiful, beautiful palette for someone who is a bit of a medium to darker skin tone. But the lip colors in here, particularly the shade Baroque, which I used in the last Get Ready With Me, this is my new like favorite pinky, slightly peachy coral tone, but also just neutral lip color. It's beautiful. All right, last two products. The first thing I have is from Saturday Skin. This is their new Bright Potion Probiotic Power Serum. So as I've been clearing up my acne, I have been seeing some like scars and dark spots, and I've been using this to try and get rid of them. This is a really good like mid-priced skincare brand at Sephora. I love my expensive skincare like from Drunk Elephant and Sunday Riley, but sometimes you want something a little bit more reasonable. In the 1 month picture that I showed earlier with the CBD skincare set, you could see that I had dark spots from where some of the zits had gone away. So it wasn't really red anymore, but it was like kind of dark. I feel like this is also really good for getting rid of darkness around the under eyes and the nose. I have a thing for products that are like
Unnecessarily bougie.
So over the past month, I've kind of developed a thing for Emile Cordon lip balms. They're very expensive, and I feel bad I almost feel bad mentioning them. But my personal favorite is Saint Barth Soleil because it has this really kind of soft coconutty flavor to it. This is like what I imagine cloud feels like. It's very, very hydrating, and I wore this one on the plane for 16 hours. My lips still felt like genuinely nice after I got off the plane. Yeah, that is my final product of the month. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed and also follow me on Instagram to see makeup looks like this, posted fairly regularly. Thank you so much to ShopTagger for sponsoring today's video and helping your girl get through med school, honestly. And if you made it to the very end of this video, I love you. Bye.
You believe God is a woman. You believe God is a woman. You believe God. And then that's where we're going.